Good evening and welcome to our first Call the Coach of the Todd Graham era. My name is Bobby Curran, and along with Coach Graham, as the Rainbow Warrior team finally gets ready to depart and play its first game of this 2020 season. Coach, I think everybody wants to know this because you've had months of Zooms and zero personal contact, not your style. You've admitted that. Finally got out and were able to practice. What are your expectations for Saturday?
Well, we're expecting to go out and perform well. Our guys, everybody talks about the difficulties of a situation. It's been probably one of the biggest challenges, in my time, but it's the same for Fresno State, same for everybody. That's the way it is every year, and so everybody's had minimal practice and minimal time, and this COVID deal has been very, very complex. And some days you have guys there, sometimes you have different guys the next day and all that. But man, we're going out there. I came here to build a championship program, and so we're excited to go out and to take the first step to do that and figure out a way to go on the road, which is one of the toughest things to do in college football, and win. And so I'm excited. I'm proud of our players, how they've handled this. I'm proud of our coaching staff. It's been a learning experience, but it's been an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to how blessed we are to get to play this game, and the fact that this is even happening. Several months ago, I thought there was no way this was going to happen. So we're excited, blessed, and fired up, and can't wait to go represent this great university and this great state.
Coach, I remember at your press conference, you had said, and I put a lot of people, I think, their minds at ease when you said, look, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. This team won 10 games. And then later in the press conference, you said there's really three things that we want to do. We want to eliminate some of the penalties that there were a lot of. We want to take care of the football and not turn it over. And we want to be physical. With those three things in mind and a limited time to practice, where are you in terms of those things? Are you feeling pretty good about it?
That's a good question. I think we'll find out where we're at. But no, it's obviously this has been a different, no spring ball, no really summer camp, really not any fall camp. Basically 4 weeks of being innovative about how we prepare. And obviously, we want to be a team that's about elite discipline, speed, and physicality. And we're the foundation of who we are, who I am as a football coach and running a program. It's about training and development. And so with minimal time with that, obviously we're not, I think the biggest thing we're going to find out is, have we made the right decisions on where we're at, that we don't try to do too much. I think the biggest thing is we don't go out there and beat ourselves. And that is with penalties. Go out there and, turn the football over. Yeah, that's the two big things that we wanted to do. We were 127th in turning the football over. We don't want to turn the football over. And obviously we want to not be 99th, 100th in the country and getting penalties. That speaks to our discipline. And so these are things that we think can to build a program year in and year out that's competing for championships, you've got to have elite discipline, and that all produces an opportunity to be physical. And so the players will tell you that it's been, we've had 3.5 weeks of practice or whatever it is, or 3 weeks. And it's been probably the most intense physical practices that they've had. The challenge is just, the fact that, you have different people there. What you can do schematically, the fundamentals of it has just been really different. It's blown up every organizational plan that I've had in the last 30 years. But the big thing is execute what we can execute and go out there and have fun playing the greatest game on earth, and keep it simple.
Well, one of the things, and I wouldn't have any doubt, had you had a spring and a full fall camp and had guys available to condition all summer, I wouldn't have a lot of doubt that you'd be pretty far along the line towards some of those discipline things, eliminating the false starts and certainly personal fouls and taking care of the football. So I guess the question is, considering a very limited time to practice, how much could you concentrate on those things?
I mean, one of the things is it's a great opportunity you find out what kind of teacher you are. And obviously, we're coming in and a lot of the staff have worked for me or played for me in the past. I think that's helped. But there is a lot of teaching with the staff, and then there's a lot of teaching with the players, and the players have been awesome. I mean, they have, really had a great attitude and had a great mental maturity about training and preparation, and have really been sponges. I mean, they come in every day. They come in after practice, wanting to watch film with me and learn. And so, man, I'm just having a blast get an opportunity to teach and work with them. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's just like, I mean, when you go into each year, it's how well you can teach, and how well you can execute. We would like to go really fast as an offense. Well, we're not going to be able to do that because we haven't had enough time. That would be not very smart to try to go fast and mess up, when you haven't had the time to practice and be disciplined. But I'll tell you this, I've got a lot of confidence in the young man we have leading our team and at quarterback, and Chevin Cadero. And, the leadership on this team, Miles Reed and Corey Bethley and Eugene Ford, I mean, in the senior leadership and the players that are here, I mean, I've been so impressed with how they've conducted themselves and worked, and they've worked hard. And, it's the same for Fresno. No excuses. There's everybody always talks about the different circumstances. There's no excuses. You got to figure out how to develop a plan that can best put your players in this situation, the best chance to win a football game. And so we've got to make sure we think we've done a solid job at preparing our guys. We just got to do a great job of making sure that we're disciplined on game day. And I've got a lot of confidence that our guys will. I think I know one thing: they're going to play hard, and they're going to they'll play with a lot of heart, because this is a team that has that. And so I'm excited to lead them. And I'm, I love the challenge. I love that it's been anything in life worth having is difficult and it's challenging. And I just see them as opportunities. So I'm excited about what we've done to this point. Obviously, I wish we could have had spring ball and wish we could add a lot of other stuff. But, Fresno's wishing the same thing. But we're going to play hook up and play on Saturday, and it's the team that's the best prepared, that's the most disciplined, that doesn't beat itself, the one that's going to win. And we intend that to be us.
Coach, there's a couple of things I want to introduce, one on defense, one on offense, and then we're going to turn this over. We want people to call in, to text, and we'll have you in just a second. But let me start with this, and it's about your defense. When I saw the two deeps come out, I mean, there were guys last year that were linebackers that are now listed as defensive ends. There were guys that were safeties that are now linebackers. It looks to me, if someone said, what are they trying to do? I'm saying, I think they're trying to get some speed and aggressiveness on the field. How would you put it?
Yeah, it is. And that's where the biggest change has come. And that's probably been the most difficult, is you got guys that, I tried to really come in and spend some time. Obviously I've done this before. And so, I really wanted to be adaptive and make sure we adapt what we're doing to the skills and talents of the players that we have. And the biggest change is going to be on defense. And we felt like we needed to make a change. We gave up, I think, 33, 34 points a game, and if you want to win a championship, you can't do that. You're going to have, last time I think they went to the Sugar Bowl here in 2007, they gave up 25 points a game. We've got to be there or below that is what we're trying to do. And from a personnel standpoint, I just felt like there was, to give our guys a chance and to get speed on the field, to be able to dictate a little bit more to the offense, to be able to get some type of pass rush. That was something that was really, when I looked at the film, that's probably the biggest challenge, the pass rush and the ability, and the ability to cover. And when they have so long to throw the football. So, and these guys taking on different roles, guys moving from, places that they're not comfortable being, and they've had a great attitude about it. And that you're exactly right. That's the way we want to play defense. We want to play it fast, and we want to be explosive. And So that's the system that we've designed here is not a system that I've ever ran before. The system that I designed in the last school that I was at, we had never ran before. And I think it's to me, we need a system designed to fit these young men here defensively and to give us a chance to build a program that has a championship caliber defense. I want people to be as excited about what we're doing defensively here, kind of like they were in the Dick Tomey, era. And also just as excited about the explosive style of football we're playing on offense. So we're trying to build a program, offense, defense, kicking game. Obviously, the foundation of it's going to be based on training and development and speed development. Obviously, the preparation that it takes to teach in the classroom and all those things. And those things have been limited, but I'm not going to, we had to make the change that we made defensively. I thought in the long run, we're going to be better for it. And they're dramatic differences. And you can see that from the depth chart. So, but our players have taken it on really well. What we're going to be able to do is, we're going to have to keep it pretty simple, and execute what we can execute. But the whole idea is to get speed on the field and to get guys flying around the football.
We have a text question all the way from Los Alamos, New Mexico. This is John saying, "Hi, Coach. Have any of your teams in the past stayed on the road for 2 weeks?"
No. I'm looking forward to it, though. I mean, obviously, I haven't had an opportunity. I've been a so-called consultant for the last 2 years, and I'm tired of being a consultant. So if they would have asked me to play all 8 games on the road, I would have been all in. So, that's obviously to start off the year on the road, back-to-back road games is probably, about as challenging as you can make it. And I'm never, we're actually going and staying 2 weeks and playing 2 football games. And so, no, I've never done that or had the opportunity to do that. But we're fired up to do it.
Coach, the good news is 4 of the last 6 will be in the friendly confines of Aloha Stadium. Friendly for you.
I like that. Positive attitude. I like you finding the positive in that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I looked at the schedule the same way, I mean, once we get done with this road trip, half of our road games are over. So,
exactly. Oh, you got to love that part of it anyway.
You got to see the positive in everything.
We want to encourage you, call in. This is your chance to talk or ask a question of Coach Graham. You can text us and I'll relay the question to him. We're getting to the point where we need to take a timeout. We'll do that in just a second. I want to leave you with the offensive question. You had said you're going to use a lot of what this team was used to doing, and you'd have some tweaks. Have you ever had 9 offensive linemen who coming into a situation, 9 who have started at least one game? You have 121 total starts among the offensive linemen you have coming back.
Well, I think the offense obviously is the strength of our team, especially the offensive line. Obviously, we have a lot of confidence in our quarterback. I think our running backs are a really solid group. Like to have more depth there. That's obviously Miles and Day and Calvin Turner are guys that we feel really good about. And then at receiver, obviously we graduated some really quality players there. 3 of the top 4, I think, receivers, but we feel like we've got really good players in those positions as well. And we've adapted some things, and we will adapt some things, but we're going to be a team that we want to be explosive offensively, and we're going to take what the defense gives us. We want to be able to push the ball down the field and throw the football, and we're going to do that. And but on the same hand, with that offensive line, we need to be able to run the football, and we feel like we can do that as well. So I think that's something that we're excited about. I've never taken a job and had that kind of experience on the offensive line, so that sure is a luxury. And those guys are a great group, and I think the foundation of our football team is always going to be those guys in the trenches on both sides of football. And so we're excited about those guys and what they're and we're adapting and doing things offensively. We're going to adapt what we are going to do to these players and get the ball to our best players. And obviously there's guys that are coming back in those skill areas, but there's going to be a lot of new guys touching the football at receiver. And obviously we think Day Hunter, or we think he's a special talent at running back, and Calvin Turner. Miles Reed is man, he's the guy. He's as far as the ever down guy, and a tough man. I'm just so proud of him. He's probably a young man that exemplifies what I believe about football. And so there's going to be a lot of new people touch it, and we've adapted a lot of things to it. And the key is that, with the minimal amount of time that we've had, that's going to be the key, is that we don't try to do too much and we keep things simple.
Okay, you can call us or text us. 296-1420 is the number. We're going to take a very short timeout, and Chris Hart will be on to give some things away, which is always fun. We'll be back with Coach Graham. This is Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
Start whenever you're ready.
I guess you'd say a brief technical difficulty. We have a question that has been texted in. Coach, is it true that everybody retains an extra year of eligibility? And if that's yes, how does it affect recruiting? Do all the seniors come back, or is it individual case-by-case basis?
Well, obviously they gave everybody an additional year, and obviously you only have so many scholarships is the issue, and so it's pretty much handled a case-by-case basis. But I do believe that it will affect recruiting, and I think it'll probably result in a lot smaller classes. I know that our class will probably be a lot smaller because of that. That's one of the things about this situation that I think has been tough, because I think for young people that are coming out that are seniors, I think there's going to be probably one of the fewest amounts of scholarships given out probably in the last, 30, 40 years, because, because of that situation. You got seniors that are given another year. Most conferences, obviously they'll let you go above 85, but most conferences aren't going to be able to afford to do that. And so, for us, it will affect how large our recruiting class is. So it'll affect recruiting, but it will handle them case by case.
Well, I'm guessing that there's going to be seniors who, they're not looking to play professionally. They're ready to get on with the next phase of their life. They may not want to come back. There's others who probably think, I'm pretty close to making a living doing this, and I might need just one more year.
Right. Exactly. So it's every person's circumstance is going to be different. I do think it's a positive thing. I was very glad to see them do that. I think it's probably the right thing to do. And, we're obviously, I think it's a deal that's going to benefit more than it's going to hurt, but it is going to, and I think it's going to be, people don't understand, they gave everyone an additional year. So this doesn't count against anyone. So you basically, this is going to affect recruiting for the next 4 years.
Sure. Cycle. Makes sense. Let me get to this, because I think this is always interesting for Hawaii fans, and generally people get to come to maybe some of the spring practices and a spring game, and maybe a few of the practices in the fall camp, and get to know, or at least be familiar with, some of the new players. That has not been an opportunity this year that's been presented, but there's a couple of guys who are intriguing to me, and I want to ask you about a couple of them. Rico Buss, what can you tell us about him?
Rico Buss, he's a special young man, has been, obviously a very talented receiver, transferred from North Texas. He had a knee injury. He's one of the, I think he's one of the top people for the Blitnikoff Award when that happened. A guy that is extremely explosive, one of the hardest working young men that you'll be around. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why we brought him here to join our group. And he's a guy I'm excited for, that, was basically at the top of his game and set to really, move to the next level. And then obviously had a tough break with a knee injury, which is, those things are, I think things happen in football, and football emulates life because of it. And man, I'm thrilled to death to give him an opportunity to have a big time comeback in a big time year. And he's a guy that we think's got great promise and going to do great things for us. Very explosive, very dynamic. And I love his work ethic. He doesn't say much. He comes every day and he brings it with great passion. And he's a guy that we think is going to be a big part of what we're doing.
Coach, there's another receiver listed on here, Zion Bowers. I have had a couple. Bowers?
Bowens.
Oh, Bowens. And so tell me, because a couple people have said this guy's got tremendous speed, tremendous burst.
Yeah, he's a special young man. Another guy that, towards the end of recruiting, we were coming in transitioning, and you know how that is. It's just, organized chaos. And so we're watching his film. I think we have about 4 days left in recruiting. And weren't going to take anybody else. Said, hey, let's don't take anybody else. Let's be smart. Let's don't make any mistakes here by not having enough information. I like to be very thorough and especially in personnel, because that's what drives your organization. And man, I met this young man. Was out on the road, went by his university, then had an opportunity to meet his sister and his family. Man, I mean, I just so impressed. A guy that fits everything about what we want to be as a family and the values that we have in our program. And this guy, when I just watching the film and then meeting him, I just said, man, there's something special about this young man. And he has probably been is big of a highlight in the last 3 weeks. To see him come in, because I knew from watching the film and being around him, I knew this kid's going to be successful and be a really good player for us. But he's really exploded on to the scene, and a guy that has big time speed, a very dynamic guy, explosive down the field, and probably one of the what I love about him is he's got one of the best smiles you'll ever see. I mean, he's a happy guy, and he lives every life every day. He lives his life every day. Is a guy that's just with an attitude of gratitude. And he has a great spirit about him. And every day I see him, I said, man, I wish I was you. And he said, Coach, why is that? And I said, boy, I'd have a lot better future.
That's great. Coach, we got another text, and I do think that this guy, Brian from Kailua, might be confusing college travel limits with the NFL. His question is, first off, welcome. And then how many players will be on the travel roster? Is it still maxed out at 53? Don't think it's ever been 53.
Now that's most of the time it's between 68 and 74. And I believe now, if I'm right, is that we have 74 players going on the trip.
Which is, listen, I think in these days, and I've heard this, someone told me who's been following your career and said 2 deeps might not be enough with Coach Graham. He might play more guys, expected maybe 3 deep. Is that true?
I like to play a lot of players. I think that, if when you can, I mean, that's one of the things I just think the teams that I've been around been really good. You develop experience, and you don't get it, there's no substitute for experience, getting an opportunity to play. And so we think if guys are pretty equal or just maybe a little bit better, we try to rotate guys in there and try to keep them fresh. And especially the receiving group, especially we'd love to do that on the defensive line. We'll rotate, 2 deep there for sure. But yeah, I like to play as many guys as we possibly can. And, the Mountain West Conference limits, that we have a limit how many you can travel with. And that's going to be a big challenge for us as well, because we're traveling with 74 players. We're used to practicing with 115. So just to be able to practice on the road, so we don't, is a challenging deal. So that we had to really reorganize our practice for the Wyoming week, because we'll have to practice more like an NFL team, where we're practicing our first offense against our second defense and vice versa, instead of having a true scout team that we work with every day. So there are some challenges to that. And, but the conference does limit you to 74. And I love taking as many guys as you can. I love that experience of being on the road. And so, but I hate leaving guys behind. So That's always a tough deal to pick the guys that are going, but that it's going to be an interesting deal being gone for 2 weeks, and that's been complex, and how to organize all that.
Coach, I have another texter here, and it says, this is from Matthew from Honolulu. What are your thoughts about playing all home games with no fans this season?
Well, it's better not playing at all, but I can tell you this, that I love game day. I love to pull up to the stadium. It's one of the things that we talked about. We want to have a team walk where we walk through and get to meet the fans and get to be a part of game day. I love it. I always, what I do before every game is kind of a superstitious thing. Is no matter where I go, I always send my GA out in the parking lot or whatever. I try to find the best hot dog and I have me a little popcorn and a pop. And my granddad, when he used to take us, back when we were little, to the Dallas Cowboy games and Texas Ranger games, those are great memories for me. So I love game day. And I just, the fans are critical. That's one of the things the other day I was saying, man, is there any way the band can come? I want the band, the cheer. I mean, just the pageantry of college football is so unique. And so I'm going to miss not getting to see the fans and getting to have them there at the stadium. But hope, I'm looking forward for the day when they can come back, because, I love college football. But it's not the same. It's not the same without the fans there. It's not the same without the band there. And it's not just a football game. It's an event, and it's an all-day event. And there's something special about the way college football does it. And so that's something I will be looking forward to, their return, and seeing that band out there, seeing the cheer, running out of that tunnel. It's going to be kind of strange. That's going to be really interesting too. We've talked a lot about, really making sure, that's going to be, what's that atmosphere going to be like, making sure we keep our guys inspired and focused, because, I know, at home, especially, how when, coming here in 2003, 2004, playing at Aloha Stadium, man, I can tell you the crowd was a major factor. And so, it's going to be interesting how that affects your home field advantage by not having the crowd there. So that's going to be interesting to me. It's going to be a new experience for me. And it's one that I hope I never have to do again, because I love being a part of game day. And I'm a fan myself, to college football, what it's all about.
I think we're all second that emotion, Coach, that it's hard to imagine without fans, and way better when they're there. We've got to take another quick timeout. We'll come back with a text. And if you want to call or text, 296-1420 is the number. We'll turn it over to Chris Hart for a moment or two and be right back on Call the Coach at ESPN Honolulu.
All right.
Well, welcome back to our debut edition of Call the Coach with Rainbow Warrior head coach Todd Graham. Coach, they're rolling in with some texts. Here's one from Tim from Seattle. Aloha, Coach. What player who's under the radar to the fan base could you see coming out on Saturday and having a big game? Can't wait. Go Bows.
Yeah, I tell you, I think Zion Bowens, that we talked about earlier, could be a guy that could have a breakout game. We've got quite a few guys at the receiver position. I think Rico Buss, he's probably another one that could have a big time breakout game as well. I talked about Day Hunter at running back. That as a young man's had a tremendous camp that we feel great about. Cameron Lockridge is a cornerback that's been very impressive on the defensive side of the ball, that has done some great things for us. So those just a few guys that I think could step up and really do some nice things. I think, on defense, guys like, Corey Bethley's had a great camp. Those are guys that name probably everybody's familiar with, but in a very different role. Him and Derek Musau are in very different positions in what they played, And I think they could really help them to be productive. And so lots of good things. I think we've got I think our place kickers, a special young man, Shipley, that was an All-American, Under Armour All-American in high school, who has been very, very impressive in that regard. So from a kicking game standpoint, I think he could do some special things for us as well.
Okay, there's a guy I wanted to ask you about because, when I started to track him a little, I saw Quentin Frazier, and then I saw he transferred from Azusa Pacific. So Victor is very familiar with him.
Very familiar. And I told Quentin the other day after practice, I said, the best thing I did was sign you to come here. And so, obviously coming from there's not a lot of times that, a guy, he was got in the transfer portal and kind of went a while in recruiting and really, and then Victor finally came and said, Coach, hey, this one kid I got, I think you might want to look at. And so we looked at him and, it was one of those things where, Victor knew him, knew what kind of person he was, knew his work ethic, and he's been a bright spot. He's come in and is scheduled to start. So, he's really had a great camp as well. I've been really proud of him. And I told him the other day, I said, man, I'm really proud and really glad that I signed you to come here and play. He's a great kid and does a great job. And it's been I'm on him every day. He's learning a whole new system, and man, he is, you can't rattle him. I can tell you that. I challenge him every day, and these kids I've been very impressed with how they've, received the passion from which I want to do things, and they know that. That you got to play this game with great passion, and especially if we want to build what we're trying to build here, from a defense and a physicality standpoint, from how we play defense, how we fly around, run the football, and as well as the physicality up front on both sides of the football are what we're wanting to really, step it up to. And that involves a lot of physicality in practice that is something that's not normal.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about a guy who was here last year, but he was a freshman, and he's still a freshman because he played only in 4 games. He's not very big, but he had shown some ability to electrify. Lincoln Victor, what's your impression of him?
Yeah, I think Lincoln is a special receiver. He's one of the guys that that we have a lot of confidence in the return. Jared Smart, Lincoln Victor. I mean, those guys are guys that Mardner out wide. I mean, we're very blessed to have a lot of speed. Melky Stovall's been impressive as well, but Lincoln is a guy that, man, he has a passion about how he works every day. He's a guy that has great explosiveness to the football, and a young man that I think is going to do nothing to get better and excel in what we're doing.
Well, and there's one other player I have to ask you about because I've loved him since he got here. He's one of those guys that doesn't say much. When he came here from American Samoa, people said, someone asked about what's his weight training experience. They said, well, he's country strong, and that's Blessman Ta'ala. Tell me a little bit about your impressions of him.
I would tell you this. It's so interesting that you bring that up because he is probably, of all the veterans, it was a lot of veterans. And I tell you, we've had guys that, when you got guys that changing positions and really, sometimes a lot of situations like that, they're doing what's best for the team and whether it's, best for them or not. But Blessman he doesn't say much. He's going to figure you out a little bit. He's not just going to, jump in there and jump on the bandwagon the first day. You're going to have to earn his respect. He has had one of the best camps. The last 3 weeks of practice, man, he is a guy that has bought in big time to what we're doing. And I think he's going to have a really, really good year. I think he's poised to have his best year. Obviously his little brother's here, and it's interesting to see both of them walking together. I think he makes his little brother walk behind him because he's always walking behind him. But no, Blessman is powerful, strong. Obviously is trained very well. very hard for this season. But he is really in the last. We were actually talking about him before I walked in here from my staff meeting. We were talking about how impressed we were with how he's worked and how he's bought into what we're doing, and he's getting better every single day. And he's a powerful young man that I think he's poised to have a great year for us.
I was talking to former Fresno State coach Pat Hill. It was a Bulldog roundup. They asked me to come on for 5 minutes. And Pat Hill said, I used to love the Hawaii teams that was so physical. Even if you beat them, you just knew you'd been in a fight. And he said, and Hawaii seems to have gotten away from that. What are you anticipating? I said, Coach, get a good seat on Saturday. I think you're going to enjoy this. And he said, is there a particular? I said, Blessman. Was watch Blessman to Allah. I mean, I just think he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a throwback, old school, smash mouth kind of guy. And, that's one of the areas where we're probably challenged the most is in the defensive line. And he is the anchor, I think, up front for us, and a guy that I've just really, really, really been impressed with. And he's really, once he figures out that you have his best interest in mind, and more than that, the best interest of his teammates. Man, I'm gonna tell you now, he don't say much. He speaks very, very little, but he's a special young man, and that's what we want to be able to do. And obviously, that's something we want to build towards. That's one of the reasons why I took this job. I had experience coming here and playing Hawaii, and over a decade, and we used to come out and play in the early 2000s. And we'd be so worried about the the run and shoot and their offense, and thinking, man, we've got to really be prepared for this. And we would leave with a bloody nose and a bloody mouth. We'd go like, golly. I remember just the physicality that they played with back then. And then go back to Dick Tomey and Al and Nico Noga and back in the day. I knew the kids here. I'm a blue collar guy. I'm not I love the game of football, and one of the reasons why I love it is because of the physicality of it, and because it's hard, and you got to be tough to play it. And there's you can talk all you want, but it's the team that physically whips the other one that usually wins, and the team that's going to win with consistency. And so I like it, and that's one of the things I found that I made a good decision, because I like being around these players. I like that they embrace that. I like that there's a toughness about the state and the young people that are here. I like the way they approach things. If family is important here, football is important here. And I think a big part of that is there's an expectation of playing it in a very, very physical way. And that's what I want. I want to be explosive. I want to score touchdowns. I want to do all those things. But I want to build a championship caliber football team. And to do that, you got to play championship defense. And that means you're going to have to be physical and be able to run the ball, stop the run. You're going to have to be physically tough, and to be physically tough, you got to be mentally tough. And so that's why I took the job, because I want to coach in a place that I fit. And that's something that I think I made a good decision, because I've enjoyed working with these young men every day. And it's not just winning. We want to win the right way, and I think here it's a blue collar way. That's how we're going. That's how we're going to approach it.
Coach, we got to take a quick timeout. I'm hoping we'll have a few minutes to address any other text and maybe get a quick thumbnail from you on what you're seeing with Fresno State. You're listening to Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu. All right, thank you, Chris. Well done. Coach, this is an interesting question. We'll do this, and hopefully we'll still have a few minutes to talk about Fresno. It says, this is Jim from Kaimuki. During the road trip, will you be keeping the team in its own bubble to prevent outside contact? How soon after Fresno will you be heading to Laramie? And if you're staying in California, where would you be situated?
We're gonna obviously fly into Fresno, and then after the game, we're gonna fly out the night of. Obviously, keeping all of our guys in a bubble together. Even how we room them, our roommates, and all that stuff. So yeah, we're in a complete bubble, and try to keep try to do everything we can to follow the right protocols to stay healthy. And we're gonna fly. We'll leave Fresno and fly out and go to Denver, and we'll practice in Denver and stay in a hotel in Denver up until we drive on Thursday up to Laramie to play Wyoming.
That'd be a good bonding opportunity for a team to be. That's a lot of togetherness.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it, and so we're gonna play Fresno, then fly to Denver, then drive up Thursday, then we'll fly back after the game to Hawaii on Friday, late Friday night, Saturday morning.
Coach, this Fresno team, people say, wow, they're exactly the same, two brand new coaches. I was like, slow roll that, because Coach Graham is brand new here, but Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator there. And in 2018, he ran that offense and then took that same position at Indiana. And so he's back. Is that at all an advantage that you can kind of more easily track what they've done?
I got to do that. I went to Rice. I was at Tulsa. We wound up winning the conference championship, and then I got the head job at Rice. Went there a year, and then came back to Tulsa after a year. So very similar to kind of his plight, and that it was a big advantage for me because you recruited the players, the players. Obviously, they're running his system. They'll be a little bit different than they were last year, but obviously they're a typical Fresno team. Extremely explosive. Their wide receiver core is going to be as explosive as we play against all year long, probably as good a running back as we're going to play against. So the key for us is we got to tackle. We got to not beat ourselves by giving up cheap touchdowns. We're going to play good defense because I think the strength of their team is their offense and their ability to throw the ball downfield. They just named a starting quarterback. And I watched him when he was at Washington, obviously, and he's a very, very good quarterback. He can extend plays. He runs well. He moves well. And they got a really good quarterback that they're bringing in there. They got great skill players, a veteran offensive line. So that's going to be the biggest challenge is making sure that we got to tackle. And and that's something that's the biggest concern that I have, and making sure that we don't give up cheap, but don't let them throw the ball over the top of us. And then defensively, I think obviously there's a lot of unknown. We don't really know what they're going to do defensively because the defensive coordinator is coming from Indiana, where he coached last year, and so we're who knows what you're going to see there. They've got a typical team. As far as Fresno, you're going to see guys that are very fast, very explosive, very good skill players in the back end on defense. And they graduated some guys there. And so I think that, just overall impression, very, very good offensively as far as their explosiveness. Obviously, that trickles over to special teams. Their running back as well as a great kick returner as far as a punt returner. And so they're pretty explosive in the kicking game. So we're going to have to do a great job of playing defense and do a great job with special teams and dominate the explosives there. And then offensively, I think they're kind of in the same boat that we are. They lost some guys and kind of there's a lot of unknown defensively about them.
Coach, we are flat out of time. That hour flew. Thanks so much for joining us. So exciting. Looking forward to being up there with you guys on Saturday for the game against Fresno. Coach, thank you so much.
I can't wait to get out, and man, I wish I was at Ruby Tuesday, and I can't wait we get out. I can't wait to see our fans, get our fans back, and who knows, maybe they'll get a vaccine, and we'll have some fans in the stadium before this is all over with.
Thank you, Coach Todd Graham, and we appreciate him from all of us at ESPN Honolulu. I'm Bobby Curran. Aloha.